Welcome back to Shepherd's Creek. It's been a little while, I know. I've got videos I want to post. I've got like a backlog of things that need editing and I just haven't done it. Life's crazy right now, but I wanted to share some updates and some news that I'll hopefully turn into their own dedicated videos at some point. But until then, I just wanted to talk about what's been going on. So first of all, I'm going to give you a bit of a trigger warning. If you're not big on a little bit of gore and looking kind of rough, you might want to skip ahead. I'll put the timestamp for when to skip ahead on this part. But we got a ram lamb, well, two ram lambs who stuck their faces in hornets' nests. One of them healed up just fine. The other one, unfortunately, had some issues, as you'll be able to see in just a moment. But yeah, I'm going to tell that story here. So these two, you can see the one that's looking pretty rough there, and I'll tell what happened here. But the one in the back, his name is Mike Tyson, and this is Evander Holyfield. And I named them that before this really got bad. But they both showed up looking like they got out of the ring, out of a boxing match. Their faces were so swollen, the poor things. So we threw the kitchen sink at them in terms of medication to try and get them better. And it worked on Mike Tyson here. But poor Evander Holyfield over there, as you can see, is a little worse for wear. So I'm not entirely sure what happened exactly. Like, we threw every medication we could at him to try and get him better. And it seems like we've stopped it for the most part, but it took a toll for sure. He got infected, and despite our best efforts, it was like a necrotizing fasciitis or something. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but it essentially rotted his ears off. So this is kind of a dark sense of humor thing, but it's necessary as a coping mechanism because the other option is crying. And I do enough of that. I don't need to do any more. But anyway, it's the name was kind of appropriate. Poor guy. We feel really bad for him, but he seems to be doing better. Hopefully, if we can't get a handle on this, obviously we're going to have to euthanize him because we don't want him suffering any more than we absolutely have to deal with. We do our best to save them, but if it's not going to be a good quality of life, then we don't want that. So anyway, that was the first thing I wanted to share. But we've got some other bad news as well as some good news. So I'll go with, I'll tell you a little bit about how lambing went this year. Not used to see my face, are you? But anyway, I'm trying to get more used to putting my face on camera because that's insecurity of mine, but we're going to work on that. Anyway, so let's talk raw numbers first. So we had 15 ewes that lambed. Of that, we got 30 lambs, 15 ewes and 15 ram lambs, so split evenly. My estimate was pretty much bang on, so that, go me. But yeah, that was exciting. We did lose one ewe lamb, and again, we did our best. We tube fed her, we brought her in the house. She was not doing well from the get-go. We found her just lying out in the field. The mom had rejected her. She was much smaller than the other ones were, and I don't think anything we could have done would have saved her. She was just one of those ones that unfortunately was just not born right. So we did our best and unfortunately couldn't save her. She passed away, which wasn't terribly unexpected. It's still sad. And then we had one which we named Hot Wheels, which you'll see in some of my shorts and a couple of other videos that I've posted since then. She was born with a condition called wry neck, which, like, she got stuck in the womb, so her neck was like kind of wonky, and her back legs were a little deformed. But again, we brought her in the house. We named her Hot Wheels because we didn't think she'd be able to walk, but she surprised everybody and started walking after about 24 hours. And she did awesome. Like, she really thrived. Lived in the house with us. We had lots of fun with her. She was very, very special to us. Eventually we were able to move her out to the pasture with the other sheep, and she buddied up to another one we named 27, and her name is now Elsa. So I'm still getting used to calling her that, but that's her name now. But they were best of friends, and we brought Hot Wheels into my daughter's daycare and preschool where the kids got to learn about her. and her condition and her role on the farm, and we brought her into the fall fair. We had a big poster for her. Poster won first place. She was a big hit because she was just such a sweetheart. Yeah, we really, really, really loved her. She was such a sweet little lamb. And then unfortunately, her story has a sad ending. All the sheep got out one day, and when I got home, I found them and did a head count, and one was missing, and it was Hot Wheels, and we never found her. So, I mean, we can guess what happened. Not what you want to have happen, of course, and we were all quite devastated, especially my daughter. My daughter took that one particularly hard, so that was a really sad outcome for that one, unfortunately. But the rest of them turned out really good. 27, or Elsa. I'll see if I can find her here. Hey, sweeties. Where you at? Where you at, girlie? Oh, there you are. Here. So she's just over here. We brought her to the fall fair as well, and she won first in almost all of her classes. She won second in one of them and first in all the rest. Hi, sweetie. So she was another bottle baby. She was a sweetheart too. In terms of actual lambing, the ewes, we had a lot of problems this year that we weren't really expecting. We had 3 ewes that prolapsed. Her mom was one of them, so was Hot Wheels' mom, and then there was a third. She had a massive ram lamb. She was a first-time mom who had a massive ram lamb, and had to get. We actually brought her into the vet, who tried to pull her and wasn't able to, so we ended up having to get a C-section on her, and that was actually true. So that's Charlotte's daughter from last year. They healed up fine. She ended up being a fantastic mom, so that was all good. Charlotte had a really, really nasty prolapse, which unfortunately means, let's see where she's over there. She'll be out of our breeding pool going forward. Let's see if I can point her right in the middle there. That's Charlotte. But yeah, she's out of our breeding pool because of how bad that prolapse was. So she won't be bred again. But she was the one who gave birth to Hot Wheels, and she had 2 other lambs as well, a boy and a girl. And she was a good mother as much as she could, but we had to supplement. We had to pull Hot Wheels entirely and look after ourselves, and the ewe lamb we had to bottle feed. My parents came up to help with all of this because I was heavily pregnant during all of this, and if you haven't watched my previous videos, it's not a good idea for pregnant women to be around lambing because it can cause stillbirth in humans. So I wasn't actually allowed to be in with the ewes while they were lambing and do any of this. So it was just me kind of dictating what to do, which easier said than done, of course. So there was these problems that they came and helped with, and that was greatly appreciated because I couldn't have done this myself. Hi, sweetie. So anyway, then the last one was Elsa's mom prolapsed and rejected her, so we had to look after her, which was a pain. And then we had another one that tried to reject her lambs, but my dad actually built in here, maybe I'll go in and show you, a head gate, so we could put the ewe in the head gate and keep her fed and watered and safe, but let her lambs still drink from her. And we had her in there for quite a while, like a few weeks at least, before she finally accepted her lambs. So that was the goal. And then after that, she was a good mom, but it took some convincing because we had enough going on at that point. I had my own baby then, so looking after more bottle babies than necessary was kind of seemed foolish. So anyway, that was lambing in a nutshell. Obviously there's more detail to it, and I'm hoping to have a video out about it at some point, but here we are. So yeah, that's lambing. Another thing that happened was our boys, all 4 of our rams, were down a couple because we actually managed to sell Studley Do-Right and one of this year's ram lambs. But anyway, the 4 of them, before we sold those ones, got out and got in with our ewes, who all got bred when we didn't want that to happen. So we didn't want any lambs being born in the middle of January, because up here it can be -40 in the middle of January, and that's the last thing you need, is to have lambs born out in that, because we don't have an indoor facility or anything like that, so they'd be up to the elements to survive, which I don't want to see any lambs freeze to death. So ultimately we decided to basically terminate the pregnancies for all of our flock. So that was a process. But anyway, while they were out, I had to wrestle a collective 600 pounds or so of horny ram out of a pasture they absolutely did not want to leave, which was not an easy thing to do. Hey, Griffith. Apostle's over there. But yeah, I managed to do it. Not an easy task. And then I moved them all. Like, they had gotten out of the pasture over there with the trees in it. They broke through 3 fences to get in with the ewes. And so I was out trying to set them up in the new pasture, which was in here. So I had to go get their stuff from over there and bring it in here. And in the meantime, I tripped and fell down an embankment and lay there for a while, wiggling my fingers and toes to make sure I wasn't permanently broken. Everything was fine, but it didn't feel good. And then the goats decided to go in with the rams, which normally would be fine, but because the rams were all worked up, for the goats' sake, I had to get them out. So I had to wrestle them out. Yeah, wasps are terrible this year. Sorry, I'm getting attacked by them. Anyway, had to get them out, and they didn't want to leave because they're like, ooh, hey. But the rams were too hormonal. I had to get them out of there for their safety. So I wrestled them out, and then by the end of that, I couldn't walk. I threw my back out, so I crawled back to the house and lay in bed for a couple of days to recuperate. So that was another thing that happened. The 2 rams that we sold, really, really wishing them the best, and I'm really happy that they got a new home, because they're beautiful rams. I'd love to see the outcome of those 2 breeding. Really excited for that. But yeah, we're happy to see them go elsewhere as well, because as you can see, there's not a whole lot of grass left, and we're already feeding hay, and hay is at a premium again this year due to drought. So the less we have to feed, the better, which brings me into the next thing that happened. We've got a new face in town. So he's right over there. This is our new dog. His name is Rip'em. My daughter named him, which I thought was an incredibly appropriate name for a livestock guardian dog. Hey, big boy. Hey, big boy. Hey, oh, you're a sweetie, aren't you? You want a tummy rub? You want a tummy rub? Hey, big boy. We brought him home last night, so he's still kind of new, but he came from the same farm that we got several of our ewes, all the Katahdins, from. So he's already familiar with them. He's a 2-year-old Kangal Anatolian Marima cross. As you can see, total sweetheart. Very submissive, but he knows his job and he's good at it. So that's the main thing. So anyway, the reason we got him, we were considering getting one after Hot Wheels disappeared. But what really lit a fire under our ass is what happened immediately prior to us getting him. So hey, big boy. On Monday morning, I always drive by on the road's just over right there. But I always drive by in the morning on my way to take my daughter into town to daycare, and I always glance over and see, like, okay, you know, everybody looks okay, or there's a problem that I need to address when I get home, or potentially an emergency that I have to deal with right now. So I always kind of glance over and see what's going on for the day and what I might need to do. So when I drove by, it was raining, so the ewes were all just like over in the driveway hanging out. The rams were in here, and drove by the ram lambs, which I'll show you their pasture in a minute, but they're a little bit further out, and saw just what looked like all of them dead in the field. And so I drove by and my jaw just like hit the floor, stunned. And sorry, I'm gonna do this one-handed here. Anyway, I didn't know what had happened. It looked like all of them were dead and just lying out there in the field, like bloating and stuff. So I thought it was a feed issue at first, because we just brought in some feed from another farm, and it was last year's hay. So I'm like, well, maybe there was something wrong with it. Maybe there was some mold or something that we didn't see. I don't know. So I was like, okay, well, they're dead anyway. I'm not going to be able to bring them back now. So I brought my daughter into daycare. I called Sam and told him what happened, and he was like, okay, well, I'll be home as soon as I can, because he was working. So anyway, dropped her off, came back home, walked out to the field, and found one of the ram lambs had his belly cut open, and the rest were just dead, and it looked like there were bite marks on their necks. So anyway, called the COs, and they came out and confirmed, okay, it was a cougar. Had just come in here and killed all of them for fun. Didn't eat any of them, just killed them. These two like to get out. I've stopped trying to contain them because they won't stay in, and they'll teach the other ones how to get out. So they get to just be out, and they seem to be smart enough to avoid predators so far. But they just don't want to stay in. So it is what it is. Hopefully the dog at least can keep them alive, because they have like no survival instinct. Anyway, yeah, and they were just scattered all over this field. So they confirmed it was a cougar, and they set a trap for a couple of days. During the day they asked me to cover it with a tarp so we wouldn't catch any birds in the trap, and then uncover it at night. One of the nights I came out, and it was a little, I got home later than I had planned on it, so it was dark out. I didn't want to bring the dogs because the dogs would get caught in a trap or run off, which I don't want them to do if there's a cougar on the loose. And I couldn't bring a gun because I was going to be carrying this huge tarp, so I was coming out here at night in the middle, like when it's dark out and totally unprotected. I had a pair of scissors in my pocket, but like, that's not much. So I'm out here just singing Build Me Up Buttercup at the top of my lungs, and in between verses yelling, please don't eat me! My neighbors must think I'm insane. But anyway, you gotta do what you gotta do to protect yourself. And then a couple of nights before this happened, so on the Friday, the massacre happened on Monday, but on the Friday beforehand, the dogs were making a hell of a racket, and I could hear coyotes. So I came out and took the dogs with me, and dogs immediately took off. So I was wandering around out here at like 2:30 in the morning, calling for the dogs, totally unprotected, which wasn't the smartest thing I've ever done. And in hindsight was very fortunate that I was able to come back home in one piece, and so were the dogs. But yeah, that could have been really bad. Glad it wasn't. Anyway, this is pasture 5 where the massacre happened. And like there was a lamb there, one over there, another one over there, a bunch along the fence line there, and then a couple kind of spread out along here. So it was literally just all over. Each of them had a bite mark to the back of the neck, a clean bite mark, consistent with cougar kills. As the CO, she came out and like cut open each one to confirm that the bite marks matched. And one of them was cut open but hadn't been eaten, so it literally just came out here and killed them for fun, which means it will likely come back. The trap that we set didn't unfortunately do anything, didn't catch anything. So over there is the incinerator we used to burn the lamb we put in the trap. The rest of them are just in the dumpster, because what do you do with 10 ram lambs? That's a lot to dispose of, the way that we've typically done. So we're still trying to sort out how to get rid of that many bodies. And it's a shame too, because I mean, they were beautiful rams. Yeah, they were market ones. They were destined for slaughter eventually anyway, but like, what a waste. And it's, I mean, there is the emotional side of things as well, because we were there for their birth and looking after them and raising them all this time. Just to have that happen was pretty devastating. And thankfully we do get reimbursed financially, but it doesn't cover the full emotional cost of what happened, because that was frankly devastating. I mean, thankfully our breeding stock is fine. You don't want to lose any of them, of course, but it would have been much more devastating had it been the breeding stock instead. But anyway, when I came back and looked in the field closer, I discovered that there were actually 2 of the the hair sheep ram lambs still here, plus all 4 Jacobs. Of course they survived. So I took them out and put them closer to the house, brought everyone in closer to the house to be a bit safer, and was on the lookout for a local trapper who could help us out. I've called a couple of people. There's a couple people just very close by. One of them does, he guides for cat and like big cat and bear hunts. So he really knows his stuff. He's got hounds, and he said that if I get my cougar tag, which I now have, I can be the one to dispatch it. And I think it'd be pretty cool to have that cat's skin on my wall after what happened. Not generally a big hunter, but this one's personal. Especially because I'm pretty sure it was the same cat that took Hot Wheels. So yeah, this cat, I don't see a situation where this cat can be allowed to live after what's happened. It will come back. It's got its honey pot. So we need to get rid of it. And frankly, I don't feel safe letting my daughter play outside in our yard while this thing is out here. So as of right now, that cat is still out there somewhere. So we have to be extra vigilant. I've told all my neighbors and they're all on the lookout for it too. But yeah, that's unfortunately something we've dealt with here, which I wouldn't wish on anybody. That was horrible, frankly. And I hope we never have to deal with again. The dog has been taking his job very seriously in the one night he's been here. But as you can see, he's quite comfortable in with the sheep, so he was good. I could hear him barking a bit last night, so there was probably some coyotes or other dogs or something. But he was doing his job. So that's good. I feel a bit better having him, but I won't be able to fully relax, I don't think, until that cougar's skin is on my wall. So yeah, anyway, those are some of the updates we've dealt with so far in the last little while. Sorry, I know this is kind of a boring just listening to me talk video, but I'll try and be more consistent when I can. It's just, I'm back in school now too, so that's just one more thing to deal with. So I'll post when I can. Anyway, if you want to hear what happens with the whole cougar situation, hi Jennifer. But if you want to hear what happens with the cougar situation and everything else, then stay tuned. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And we'll see you next time. Thanks muchly.